Yeah, we're really messing around with some crazy ideas for the 300th. So make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that holding legs button so you guys don't miss out more. Look at me. I know, right? I saw a list show up recently, and it was playing holding legs. Now, I had to think about this for a second. You know, what is the application and the reality of this card? Because it says, on summon, return all spells and traps on the field to the hand. Okay. We can banish this card from the graveyard to target a set spell and trap card your opponent controls, and it cannot be activated until the end of the next turn. Okay, so I mean, on summon, it bounces back all back row, and then we can banish it from the graveyard to basically tell your opponent they're not activating a set spell and trap. What kind of deck would want to play this? Showed up in combination with Grass Looks Greener, honestly, and I was a little bit surprised about that, but when you think about this as a side deck card, though, and you actually, you know, process and go, oh, I mean, yeah, there is application to this. Also, fun fact, the banishing from the graveyard is not once per turn restricted, which is very interesting to think about, because if you mill 3 of these and your opponent has 3 back row, you can just trigger all 3 holding legs to lock down the back row, and you can basically just kind of go about your turn however you see fit. So, is there an application to this? I mean, kudos to coming up with the idea for, you know, having holding legs being a real card. I think I'm more surprised to see, you know, an application in a world where this is actually real. The return back to Eradicator Epidemic virus. There have been a lot of interesting side deck ideas right now. You've got so many people that are just trying to figure out what is going to be the key piece to, you know, get them victory in this fight. Thank you, Winged Dragon Raw. Eradicator Epidemic Virus is one of those cards that has always felt kind of like a little bit of a blowout when it actually does fundamentally get to resolve. And I mean, you can literally say being able to wipe out effectively all back row that your opponent is able to generate. It does feel a little bit insane for what the card actually is. We kind of live in an era right now in this game where you look at just the amount of back row that's available and the different styles of back row as well. You know, if you're walking into a certain matchup, you know, if you know that deck needs spells, bada bing, bada boom. You know, you ain't playing the game, fool. You know, it'd be like that. Or you go bada bing, bada boom. The Labyrinth player that you ran into round 1 is now quickly leaving the venue and crying. Because you're not probably calling trap with this. That's the reality of the 300th right now. Erad is going to be an annoying little piece depending, once again, on the deck you're playing. Other things are just going to be a dead side deck slot against certain choices. You just got to be careful who you're planning to use this against. I can't even truly say, like, doing this against, Draco Tail feels good, because it's like, Draco Tail is 3 Rahu, 1 Ketu, a couple miscellaneous spells. I mean, like, we got 8 spells maybe in the deck, maybe 10? Doesn't seem great there. Invader of Darkness. Now, this is one that you guys should be very familiar with. The anti-radiant typhoon blowout machine. Because when your opponent can't actually activate any quick play spell cards to, make an attempt to try to play the game, it usually ends up with them crying and, saying that they hate this game. And then, you're going to have people come Monday on the internet that are demanding for the ban. Actually, I don't even think it's going to be Monday. I think you're going to have people out here that are going to be calling for the immediate ban of Invader of Darkness soon enough. It's always funny because any card that ends up ruining somebody's tournament run experience usually is called to get banned. It is what we like to call the crybaby syndrome. All right. They're all for these cards existing in the scope of the game. But god damn it, the minute that card is used against them, you know, it's terrible. In terms of anti-Radiant Typhoon stuff, you've got Curse Seal, the Forbidden Spell. You got Invader of Darkness. You know, you just kind of take your pick. You know, what choices do you feel like are going to be optimized? Radiant Typhoon's been pushing down ever since, you know, we expected it to be really decent coming off of early tournament data. And then the week 1 results showed that, you know, Draco Tail was just the better choice. You know, candidates were really just looking at that. I would still have a game plan for Radiant Typhoon, but do you really need to dedicate a particular slot to it? I feel like that's going to be a decision you're going to have to make kind of going forward. Let's talk about Dragon's Mind. Out of sight, out of mind. Okay, I had to get that out of my... right now, Solemn Judgment's loss, I think, has been felt by a lot of the community. More so in the sense of, you know, players are kind of looking for replacements for it. Now, Dragon's Mind is a hell of a card, man. The fact that it's recurable back to the field, I think, is the thing that just puts this card a little bit above and beyond the average, you know, bear for what you're kind of expecting. Now, the reason why I'm even mentioning this, and, you know, it's a pretty impactful card, but I think somewhere in the back of people's minds, they're not fully realizing that, you know, players have just pretty much cut judgment at this point, and like if their deck can support 2 Dragon's Mind, there's usually 2 Dragon's Minds looping around in side decks right now. One key thing I would take away from the 300th, or at least if you're planning on playing in this event, is remember that if your opponent's setting back row, and, you know, it's game 2, game 3, there is a high chance that you just might get Dragon's Mind. And I don't think you're going to have a very good time the minute that actually ends up clicking. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, obviously, you know, counter trap cards are a little bit slower than the former times they used to be. But I mean, that's okay, man. That's why these are called tech choices. And the tech choice job is to give you a favorable situation in a rather not so favorable situation. That's why we like these cards, because when they come down and they do their job, they feel pretty good. And then we have the State of Infinite Impermanence. If you've not noticed, Imperm's kind of on the decline right now. It's not that Imperm's just a terrible card. It's just other cards feel better right now. And this is the thing that we've talked about over the years with hand traps cycling in and out of formats. Imperm might actually just be a clutch card this weekend. You know, especially when you've got a beginning of a format, you know, developing. But one of the key funny ha-has of this format is like, yeah, you could Imperm a Fallen a White. That's pretty good. I mean, I'd consider that value. But then you get into like the Draco Tail matchup where you're like, oh, they normal summon the Fallen a White. You Imperm it. They chain the 5 mana. And you're just like, ah! Or, you know, my other favorite is normal summon Lucius. Imperm, chain 5 mana. Please just keep on crying all the way to, you know, the Cryville City, man. Like, it is hilarious to think about, you know, Imperm being a card that is kind of cycling out right now. And especially, you know, this weekend, we'll see. We will truly see if this is going to be a recurring theme or not. But I'm honestly kind of excited. I love the idea of Imperm kind of being on the decline, because, I mean, maybe people can finally afford some higher rarity ones. I know it was a Starlight Rare that was cheap, but you get what I'm saying. So please, you know, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here today, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.